Good evening, Honorable Dashapur President, respected Dean, Associate Dean, Registrar, Principal, faculty members, staff, esteemed guest students from different schools, and my fellow students. Among us, we have a very special guest today, Mr. Suraj Bhattarai. He is an independent filmmaker. He is a graduate of Doc Nomads, a joint master's in documentary film directing from 3 different universities in Lisbon, the best and Brussels. His graduation film, Boy and the Dreams, won the Best Documentary Award for the Biscop Thimphu. He is an alumni of the prestigious BAFA Film Academy in Bhutan, Korea. He has directed and edited several short films which have been screened at major international film festivals like Castle Dog Fest, Bhutan International Film Festival, and Dharamshala International Film Festival. He is an associate producer of the critically acclaimed feature lengthy documentary project Agents of Happiness, which recently premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. I, Pugen Wangmo, on behalf of the Performing Arts Club, would like to extend a warm welcome to each one of you today for the performance of the play Water by a venerable playwright, Beverley Andrews. It's a great moment for us since we are the first in the world to perform this play. Also, we are very fortunate to have amongst us the playwright herself joining us online from UK to witness this performance. Your presence here today is both an honor and a testament to the enduring appreciation for the art and the intellectual curiosity that binds us all together. In the quiet depths of human emotion, where secrets ripple like currents beneath the surface, Beverley Andrews invites us to immerse ourselves in the world of water. This play unfolds like a flowing river, navigating the intricate channels of relationships, memories, and uncharted territories of human soul. Water is just not a play, it is a journey. In this exploration of human condition, water serves as a metaphor for the essence of life itself, which is unpredictable, refreshing, and sometimes turbulent. As we dive into the depths of the character stories, we discover that, much like water, our emotions have the power to shape the landscapes of our existence. Now, let me introduce you to the characters in the play. Firstly, Daniel, a white American scientist in mid-30s. Claire, wife of Daniel, who is Afro-American in mid-30s. Jason, son of Claire and Daniel, who is an Afro-American in early 80s. Jasper, a white American scientist in early 30s. Africa, a Bangladeshi female in early 20s. Joshua, a white crew member in the early 20s. Duncan, a white Canadian oil site supervisor in 50s. Jonathan, an Afro-American mayor in 30s. Conchita, a Brazilian female in early 20s. Ship captain, a white male in 40s. So, a black female dweller in 30s. Alma, a black female sea dweller in 20s. Daniel, a scientist in 30s. Adoris, a washer in late 30s. Sarah, a young English white woman. Sea dwellers 1 and 2 who are Afro-American. And finally, Sally, a white Canadian female in 50s.
This dream, I'm so sorry. I couldn't get you there in time. I just couldn't. I'm so sorry. There was just too much water.
Two Afro-American comes on stage.
Life on Earth is, of course, linked to its water. Without it, there would be no life. Without it, we cannot survive. Without it, the human race would never have existed. Over 70% of the world's surface is in fact covered by water, mainly its great oceans and seas. At the conclusion of the Ice Age, it was the movement of colossal blocks of frozen water that shaped our mountains, our hills, and our valleys. It was the movement. It was the water in shape of giant glaciers that carved out the lands we live in, and of course, created our seas.
And yet, we defy when the ancient civilizations were shaped by it. In Egypt, the empire depended on the Nile for survival, and the pharaoh poured the sea into it to ensure its citizens' crop. The Bible says that the God instructed the prophet Moses to strike on the rock, and out from its wellspring enough water for all the world's people and their livestock to drink. In Rome, and military camping was designed around it.
The Knights Templars were among Europe's most feared religious warriors. When the knights returned, they brought with them many things: staggering wealth and the love of clean water. They became a powerful force in medieval Europe, but some grew suspicious of their growing power, especially the French king. He ordered hundreds to be rounded up and tortured. They confessed to the blasphemies, and they were subsequently executed. To think the downfall began, perhaps for their newfound love of water, clean water. In Africa, from the moment modern man first appeared, our lives have been connected to this planet's water. Water brings life. Water brings death. Water can cleanse. Water can also destroy. It can act as a mirror into our very own souls. But in the end, there is no life without water. The most powerful god in the Yoruba culture is Ocean, the god of water. When she is respected, she brings sweet, life-giving water. But when she is angered, she destroys. In the world we have created, where life is often not respected, she destroys.
The scene changes. The slave ship Clotilda in 1860.
When you do this work, you have to put something to one side and just do it. You might see things which makes you uncomfortable, but you remind yourself that they are not people. I mean, not really Christian people. What you are doing to them, you are not doing to the people. And in the end, you will be bringing them closer to God. So what happens on board this ship doesn't count. Not in the middle of this ocean, surrounded by water.
An African woman walks center stage.
The ship was like a living hell, with people treated like less than animals. We could not understand what God we have offended could allow this to happen to us. There were some who, although were healthy, simply died where they lay, while others may have been alive, but lived as if they were dead. The young, the old, even children were all crammed into a stinking whole being, transported to a place we do not know. But for some of us, we'll never reach that destination. And we were surrounded, not by the lands of our homes, only by water. We were torn apart from our homes over water.
Things happen sometimes between the crew and some of the women here on board. After all, the men are miles from home. You have to find a way to distract them. If you don't, you are in trouble. You will also find yourself doing things you would not have done otherwise. But then, you have to be prepared to make hard choices. Once I return, I will be a rich man. I will go to a priest and confess all my sins. I will ask for absolution, and he will give it. He will cleanse my soul with holy water. Then all my sins will be washed away. Yes, they will be, with the holy water.
Are you sure, sir?
It's rude that pregnant ones disrupt the running order of the ship, so we have to dispose them off.
But the babies, once they're born, will they not fetch a good price?
This voyage is still not at port. In all likelihood, first both blows will be dead by the time we arrive. Get rid of them. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. I'll do it now.
Good. He's sick, and he will make others sick as well. Throw him over the side too. The cargo is not so weak as little, and the sharks who follow us will get some food to eat.
Yes, sir.
The man begins to carry the woman to the edge, but she starts to plead with him. The woman is thrown over the side as we see her struggle to swim and she drowns. The crew member then turns to one of the men who is cupping. The man throws him over the end of the boat. The remaining women stand up on their own and jumps overboard. The crew member walks away.
We fall! We fall! Ocean, please, do not abandon us. Just catch us now. She is here. We will catch each other.
The scene changes. The slave ship Matilda in 1860.
From the moment the slaves went into the water, the weather just seemed to have dramatically changed. It was like as if we had awakened an angry, unseen God. As the waves grew and gradually water started to spill over onto board the ship, we could hear screaming from the slaves below deck. And as the waves started to crash onto the ship, I thought that we would not make it. But in that moment, I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to.
The scene changes. Office at NASA headquarters set 5 years in the future, 2027.
When I was at the university and when I was a kid, I was really good with numbers. I could just seem to figure equations out. My friends at school used to tease me about it. They always hated maths and I just loved it. And sometimes I would even dream of numbers. I would close my eyes and just see numbers in front of me. My mother, when she thought that when I was obsessed with those, she really thought that there was something wrong with me. So she took me to see a shrink. Thankfully, he was a good guy. And he explained to my mom that he didn't think it was a problem. In fact, he said that she should try to see it as a gift and then just advise her to do what she could to encourage it. Then being a mom, she decided to listen to him and then she just allowed me to do what made me happy. She could never really explain it and she was sad because she could never really understood it. And of course, it made me sad because I didn't even know how to explain it. Because there was no one at home. Dad had left and years ago. Back then, I just wished I could make her see how magical it all was. When I was at university at NYU doing my PhD, I used to go around with some of my friends at the park in Central Park, whereby we used to race bags from 1 to 4 9 acres. And we used to spend hours looking at restaurants. There, we used to talk about the possibilities of life being out there. And after decades of searching, a friend of mine, Jack, actually wondered that if we had been there, meaning that if we had been there in the past, we had populated all of the planets. But what we are doing now, we are just repeating. After decades of searching, we have finally found one. A planet that is habitable, a planet with water. At NASA, we have gathered a team of volunteers to see whether they can survive there forever or not. And we have a window of a week to launch. If not, our next best chance is at the best 6 to 8 months away. So, I'm head of this team, and it's down to me to make this happen. And if we are successful in that, we will start a new way to learn and seems we are pretty much doing here.
The scene changes, Bangladesh 2027. A house in Bangladesh, a young Bangladeshi woman steps forward.
I was very young when my father brought me here. I can no longer remember his face, or my mother's, nor those of my brothers and sisters. I would like to think my father did what he felt he had to do when he sold me to this house. I remember seeing him crying when he walked away. It's strange that I can no longer remember the details of his face, but I can still remember the tears that fell when he left and the sound he made when he was sobbing. It has been 10 years now since I was first brought here, and although I was at first unhappy, I have grown to accept that this is my home. The owner of this house, despite what we do, is a very kind woman. She herself was brought to our house, similar to this, when she too was very young. So she does what she can to make us feel happy. For girls who want to leave, she lets them go. She does not force us to stay. But for girls like me, there is no place to go unless we live on the streets. So this is my home, and she is the mother I know now, the only real mother I will ever have. The waters below now seem much higher than they once were when I arrived 10 years ago, and there are many floods. Many of the men who used to come here now no longer do. Some are afraid that with the regular flooding, they might lose their farmland. So they stay home and pray, doing what they can to protect their crops. Others simply can't get here since they do not own a boat, and some are paralyzed with the future about what the future holds. The little money we did have is fast disappearing, and there are many girls who need to eat. And each day everything seems harder. Every day I wake up and look at the dark muddy water and worry that they will eventually completely cut us off from land. I'm afraid that when I go to sleep at night, I will wake up and find the waters are again flooding. But this time, I myself am underwater.
The scene changes, Canada 2027.
Harry and I met at the university, and it was definitely not love at first sight. We were both philosophy majors, and he absolutely hated the fact when I raised my hands to answer questions at some of the lectures that he attended. We somehow ended up doing the same masters in zoology, and we both had this passion of wanting to save animals, and thought if we could make films about them, that would be sympathetic. People would actually want to protect them, respect them, and not see them as an inconvenience and want to kill them. It was when we were doing our masters that we fell in love. And after we finished our masters, we started looking for funding to make those films that would make a difference, but found out to be a lot more difficult than we initially thought. So we decided to take up alternative jobs in the meantime. That's when we came here. Harry started teaching science, and I started working in the library, and time just seemed to fly. We absolutely hated the fact of wanting to stay in towns because of the sun, the noise, and the cars. We wanted to live somewhere which is closer to nature, something different. Here, our neighbors are quite close to us, within a few miles away. We really loved sitting out on the porch at night, looking at the stars, and listening to the sound of silence. Silence does indeed make a sound, which is quite impossible to describe. But believe me, it is absolutely wonderful. Now, here in the north, it's not quite uncommon to see polar bears, especially were living at the edge of the towns, so we just got used to it and carried on with our business. But you need to be careful and mindful of the fact that it's their habitat to be respected. And also, be extra careful, especially with their mothers, because that's when they can be dangerous. But otherwise, for the most part, we just carry on with our day-to-day lives. But of late, when our friends came back trekking far north and told us stories about the ices being melting, we, like everybody else, put our head in our hands and despaired. Even we could find the difference, because our winters were becoming less severe and summers more hotter. For the polar bears, who used to hunt fishes before for their food, it was becoming scarcer. So we suddenly saw them coming closer to where we lived. And I told Harry that now he has to be more careful, even when he was going out to carry the garbage and drop it. And he needed to carry the gun always. Harry said, of course he wanted the food. But that night, he thought he was just going out for a minute. After all, what could have happened? He was just going out to drop the garbage at the back of our garden. It was 11 o'clock at night, and I was already upstairs getting ready to sleep. That's where the polar bear attacked. I could hear Harry screaming. I rushed down, carried the gun, and wanted to kill the bear. But out of fear, I forgot to take the safety lid off. By the time I killed the bear, Harry was already gone. Because the bear had him by the throat and had taken off one of his major arteries. By the time everything was over, I could see Harry lying beside the body of the bear. People later told me I should hate that bear for what he did that night, what he took away from me that night. I said, no, I don't hate him, because after he was dead, I could see from his frail and weak body that he was starving, and with his habitat being destroyed, he had nowhere else to go.
The scene changes. Office at NASA headquarters, 2027.
Hey Daniel, here are the numbers. Thanks. So, what do you think? Are we good on Friday?
I don't know yet, but maybe. I hope so. Hey, you didn't have to come all the way to give me this. You could have set it up.
It's fine. I thought I was just popping to reassure myself that you are indeed human and still alive. I mean, after all this time being holed up in your office, I was worried whether or not you have been walked up into AI or something. That too, without any one of us noticing it.
Well, funny.
Not even like it. We hardly ever see you.
There's a lot to do before Friday.
Well, let's meet in Thimphu tonight. I'm going to meet Sally and James at the club. Why don't you come over?
Maybe later.
Hey, Daniel, you can't keep doing this, man.
Keep doing what?
You know what? All of this, working all the hours that God sends you.
I'll be fine. Don't worry. Hey, maybe I'll come in an hour or so.
Yeah, that's what you always say. Maybe you'll surprise us today.
The scene changes. A South American road, 2027. A caravan of migrants is making its way to the Mexican border.
So much of our lives in Latin America are based on the maize that the land produces. It is not merely the money that the maize brings us. It's our connection to the land, to those who farmed it before us. The maize crop, in so many ways, is who we are in this part of Brazil. It's our entire identity. We noticed how little the rain fell 2 years ago. It was the same time I was thinking of going to college. I finished high school the year before with top marks, and I wanted to see if I could go to the States to study. My aunt was living there, and my father's farm had done well. In fact, my father had several workers working for him, so I thought that this dream was in fact possible. But when the rains fell a second year, I decided I could no longer continue to think only of myself. I had to do something to help my family. My mother, not long after this, fell ill and suddenly died. I think now it was the worry she had about the crops that made her sick. My father could no longer continue to employ so many workers who had to let most of them go. I remember thinking that it was the first time we would lose everything. My mother's worry was what made her sick. My father was devastated by her death, but he could not take the time to mourn her because he had to do everything he could to save our farm. We even illegally cut down trees that grew adjacent to us, simply to give us more land to grow maize since the yield was so low. But this did not help. In fact, it seemed to make things worse. The next year, rains fell again, and the crop was even less. Finally, last year, when the rains failed yet again, there was little for us to save. My little sister Gabriella also died during this time. She fell ill with a fever and needed to see a doctor, but doctors were expensive, and my father no longer had the money to pay. By the time he found someone who would come, it was too late. I saw how something inside my father broke that day, and I knew I had to persuade him to leave. At first he refused, saying that if we should die in our own home. I told him I could not be happy without her, but I also wanted to survive. So we joined this caravan of desperate people, all making their way to the American border. You sometimes hear news reports and newspapers about Americans who hate us and would do anything they could to harm us. But what they do not understand is that we are not evil. We are people just like them who are desperate to survive. So we walk with all the others. In many ways, perhaps we suffered the most with this. Because if you've never had anything in the first place, maybe it's easier to carry on. But if once your life was happy, then it's much harder to see any light when that happiness is taken away. At night, we dare not sleep, because there are those at night who follow the caravan so that they can rob those who are there. Sometimes they do things that are worse. My father cut my hair short and told me to wear some of his old clothes so that from a distance I would not look like a girl. I realized how desperate we had become then. I pray now to find a place where the water is plentiful, a place where there is water, a place where there is hope.
The scene changes. Ashore somewhere in the world, 2027, a young black woman emerges from the water. She walks on the shore. She looks up at the sky. A black man emerges after her.
See, there it is. Is that it? Yes, I think it is. It is. It is beautiful. Yes, beautiful. So, look there, a star falls. Yes, it falls. Why did it fall? Why did it fall from the sky? I do not know. So, I think I like it here. Why do you not see? I do not know. But it is forbidden. But why is it forbidden? Forbidden. I do not know. I think, so maybe it's because the people here are bad. What? There was a sound. There was no sound. There. I hear it. We should go. We go.
The scene changes. A southern port in America, 1852.
By the time it's all over, almost half of the slaves had died. And since so many died because they were sick, we had to throw many of them overboard, including many men and children, not simply pregnant women. And when we arrived and got the slaves off the boat, we had to find a way to scuttle it, since at this point, it was illegal to bring slaves into the country. Years later, I found out that we were the last ship to do so. And I heard that the captain, he just paid the crew and disappeared. And I knocked around for a bit. I knocked around until the war was upon us. And since I was in the north by then, it's ironic that I came to be fighting for the north, for the Union Army. And I saw things, terrible things. But strangely, they were never as terrifying as the things that I saw on board that ship. That ship was the worst, and I could never sleep well afterwards. When the war ended, I heard that many of the slaves that we brought into the country on that last boat somehow made their way back to Mobile Bay and established a community there. African Town, they called it. A place where they could just be. And I envied them. I envied them because to me it seemed like as if they had found some sort of peace. A peace that I could never understand. And I even turned to religion for some sort of belief. And I talked to the priest and he told me that once I was baptized, the water would cleanse all my sins away. And I was happy. I was happy because I thought that I could be happy as well. That I could find peace as well. On the day of the ceremony, the priest took us all to a local stream. I invited my mother and my 2 brothers. And all was fine. All was fine indeed until he pushed me under the water and all I could see were the faces of every slave that we had thrown overboard that ship. And they all seemed so real to me because it seemed like as if they were still alive, like they were living down there. And I started to kick, and I started to scream, and I yelled at the priest. I yelled at him to let me up now so that I could run away from there. And I did. I ran away from there. And a friend who was there told me what the priest told everyone there. He said that the devil inside me was just too strong and wouldn't allow me to be baptized. And maybe he was right. Maybe the devil was just too strong. After all, how can the water ever wash me clean? All it can do is act as a mirror to everything that I have ever done.
The Scene Changes, NASA Office 2027.
Daniel, it's 3 in the morning. You have to come home now.
I've got to get this done first.
Honey, you're not going to get it done without getting any sleep.
I'll get some sleep.
When are you going to sleep?
I'm almost done for the night.
No, you're not. I know that look. That's the look you get when you work straight for 4 days. And you?
And I worked.
You worked yourself into the ground.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for ignoring my family.
It's not the first time.
I know, but look there. So much is riding on this mission.
I know, but if you're not going to come home, I
I'll come home. I feel like I'm not able to sort things out, that's all.
am. Yes, you will. But come home.
Ever since I was a child, I was convinced that we would find life out there. And maybe we just have to keep searching. If we wanted to find life, we just had to see where there was water. For a long time, scientists have thought that Venus, which is trailing acidic clouds, was too inhospitable for life. And it wasn't impossible. However, the discovery of microbes made the scientists think that it was possible. Why not we look at the distant planet, Mars? Space probes has revealed that it has a dead desert, whereby we could see a hellhole of image in it. Hope of life plummeted. But then they discovered that life can in fact survive in such a hostile planet. Why are we just looking at the planets? Shall we look at the moon? So we look at the Enceladus.
It is a dynamo of Saturn. And it provides an easier and promising targets to some of the astronomers. If life can in fact survive in Earth, why not on a distant planet? Space probes has revealed that their head are venting geysers of water, which proves to be rich in salt and other organic matters. And then there seems to be no life forms, whereby we decided to colonize it. As this happened at the same time, we figured out a way to accelerate our rockets into the space, whereby this is our only best chance. And if we are successful in that, we can try other planets and other places. So, we have a chance to explore the universe, whereby we can create something better than what we have here now.
Scene changes, a city's mayor's office, 2027.
When I was a child, I always wanted to be in the mayor of the city, so that I can help people solve their problems. When people ask me where all they came from, I would tell them, I don't know. I just wanted to be the mayor so that I can help people solve their problems. It always seemed that my parents and their friends had so many problems that people had time to solve. So as a mayor, I help them solve their problems. And being a mayor, I should create an environment where people want to live in. And being a practice of something, being the person who's in charge. So, after I finished my MA from there, I just took vote. First put the local election, and then vote, and just vote there until I was official, democratic nominee for the mayor. By then, I was married and worked out. I was just crazy, and I would never win. But I did. And then, I got the chance to see how what those problems were solved. But I never thought, what would defeat me would be water. But too much of it, and then there's no way of feeling what you're going to do. A storm that did damage was even predicted to happen with that bad. This hit us head on. We never thought this would happen. And it just takes weeks to clean this up. You add to the air some neglect as the weather resident moved outside the city. And that takes place in the office that was small. So, as a result of the situation, there's lack of funding in everything, and even the very basic in the city. The water system here in the city is very basic and it's very old. It has been neglected for years, and I care to say. And now the system is in final collapse. We don't have any water, and people can wash and speed and fires, and there is nothing not to drink. And if you're lucky, and it's some pressure in your chest, the water that will come out will just be some ultimate consolation. So now, I've supported the national plans to help waters. When people ask me, when will the city be back and when nothing, I'm too honest, I don't know. Meanwhile, what keeps me after night is there will be someone who will be living near the emergency, and there will be no water and there will be no planning it. This is just one problem that I can't fix. I can't put into words how much it hurts I have to say it. And when residents come up to me and tell their problems regarding the water, all I can say is, there's nothing I can do. It breaks my heart. This isn't just a storm, it's our greed. The greed of those who put the word in Texas. It's just not true. All they care about is themselves.
The scene changes, Daniel endures hope.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't you forget something?
No, I don't think so.
The game. Jason's game on Friday?
No.
Don't you?
Yes, I forgot it. Look there. I have so much on my mind right now. The launch this week.
Launch. Don't you see? There's always going to be another launch. There's not going to be another final. He thinks that you don't care because it is not science.
Does he think that?
Yeah.
Look there. There is more out for there. And with his grades, he could study anything he wants to.
Including the subjects you want him to study.
I've never put any pressure on him to follow me into.
You don't have to. He sees it in your eyes. He's a smart kid and he knows
what you want him to do. And it tears him apart that he doesn't want to do that.
Look, I just want what's best for him.
Then maybe listen to him. Let him figure that out by himself.
I just want him to be happy.
Then let him be happy, doing what he wants to do, not what you want him to do.
Okay.
It would really mean a lot to me if you were there.
I promise I'll be there.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. I'll find a way to work it out.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Now I really have to go. Bye.
Bye. You always look for answers out there. Maybe they aren't that far. Maybe they're right in front of your eyes.
The scene changes, the floor of the sea, 2027. Alma and Sol gather together with other Black Sea dwellers. They hold hands and swear and speak in unison.
We are together! We are together! We live with peace. We live without violence or loss of hope. We are the descendants of those thrown overboard. Those thrown overboard. We have our lives. We survive. We are alive! Yeah! Yeah!
The scene changes. Office at NASA Office Headquarters, 2027.
Hey, Daniel. Yeah. I hate to be the bearer of the bad news, but what? They say it's fixable, but they just aren't sure what caused it.
Huh? What's fixable?
You see, the leak. They've discovered a leak.
We have the top best scientists and engineers in the world. How can we have just the leak before the launch?
Hey, Daniel. We are all humans, okay? And technology can still fail us. That's life. Some things are completely out of our control. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. It's fine. It's been fixed. They just aren't sure what caused it. And of course, they wouldn't sign off the mission without fixing it. And look, it's only Tuesday. We still got time. There's no reason we still can make it.
That's good. You know what happens here? If they think that the flight is risky, then it's cancelled. It's never going to be happening.
Hey, Daniel. They'll sort this out, okay? They always do. And we'll make our targets. Yeah?
The scene changes, an empty stage, 1609, England.
When our King James first ascended the throne, we were so happy. We thought it would be good to have a man to lead us after the Queen be gone. And then there was an attempt to our poor King's life. We were so happy that he did survive, but I never thought that his survival would bring threats to my own life. There be a man who was much in love with a man in our village. That man though was promised to me, and his name be Jimmy, and he be a good lad. We have known each other since we were children, and it was just assumed that one day we would do it, and we both agreed to this with our parents. She though would not hear of this and simply did not let go. She being angry and utterly rejected, went to the local chefs in the town and accused me of consorting with the evil in the moonlight. Of course, this could not be true, and everyone in the village knew this, since we be the God-fearing family. But after the attempt to our poor King's life, everyone started to believe that the country was plucked by the witches, and every accusation that has to be made had to be treated seriously. So I was arrested and cautioned. But I knew in my heart that I did not do anything wrong, so God would choose me. The judge said that I had to undergo a trial by sinning. It means that God would choose whether I was guilty or not. Since if I sank into the bottom, then I be innocent and true to my faith. But if I floated, it would show that I have indeed consorted with the evil. I could not swim and has always been fearful of water. Since once a child, when we had walked by the same river, I had fallen into it, and
It took all my father's might to rescue me, so I do fear water. But when they announced this, I thought, since I had done no wrong, God would choose me. The town sheriff and his man took me to the river and tied a rope around my waist, so that once they were convinced I not be a witch, they would pull me up. And one of the sheriff's deputies was in fact Jimmy's father. When I looked at him, he did look away. It was as if he didn't want to look at my face. Then I looked at the river's dark water and for a moment felt a chill. Then I remember what we have learned in Sunday schools and did relax. When I looked back, I could see the reflections of the moon on it. And despite myself, the tears did flow as I looked at my poor mother because I was all she had. I mounted a low hill before the man picked up my body and threw me in. Suddenly, their voice sounded far away as I fell further and further to the waterway. As my body sank, I could see the light of the moon slowly fade away. I am not sure, but I think I may have screamed when they threw me in. But now what I can all remember is the water pressing all around me and covering me. I fell further and then seemed to come to the stop. Once my body reached the end of what the rope could allow and settled there just below the surface. I no longer seemed to have frightened myself, but I knew that God would be there and would save me since I had done no wrong. Suddenly, I felt the rope slowly pull me to the surface. Each tug seems to bring me closer and closer to the God's face. Then, finally, when I was near the surface of the water and could see the face of the God, I felt my final breath has left my body. Then I knew that God was saving me, not for this life though, but for the next one.
The scene changes, the Neil's Kitchen, 2027.
You're already dressed.
I thought I'll get in today early, just to supervise the final checks. They said that there was a leak, but it seemed to be fixed. So, just to make sure that I have to go.
You didn't seem to get much sleep last night.
Honey, did I keep you up? I was trying not to wake you when I got up.
That's okay.
No, it's not. Look, once this mission is launched, I promise that I'll spend more time with you and things will get back to normal. But now I have to go.
Oh, I forgot. Jason's coach rang again yesterday.
What? About what?
He was complaining about his dreadlocks again. He says that he's fine with it. But once Jason is at university, his coach there won't be as accepting.
I've told that boy 1,000 times to cut it. It doesn't look right under his helmet. He's the quarterback and he has to set example. But sometimes it makes him look like...
Like?
You know?
No, I don't.
Well, I don't have time to discuss this. I'll discuss when I get back.
That's why I'll speak to the coach myself. It wasn't always like this kind of disconnect. We met at NYU and were roommates in an apartment there. One night when I came back home after a fight with my then boyfriend, Daniel said that maybe I should date someone who will never let me down. I asked, who might that be? And he said it was him. And just like that, we got together and were so happy. We never spoke about race, since we both knew that we were on the same page with that. We just wanted to change the world and make it a better place for everyone. Daniel can be so easygoing, but at times he escapes into his private world which I have never been able to penetrate. Anyways, when Jason was born, he seemed to be the symbol of everything we wanted to change. But then I noticed little things. Not big, but there would be a story in the paper about a crime, and Daniel would say something odd, like Jason would grow up to be different. And I thought, different from what? These kids, they came from families that never had a chance. They were economically destroyed, and from the very beginning, they did not have any other choices. And I thought that was what he thought. And when I pushed him, he kind of agreed with me, but not in the way I thought he should. And when Jason got bigger, Daniel would notice that most of the friends he gravitated to were black, despite the fact that his school was completely mixed. And he then started to complain about the clothes he wore and the music he listened to. It never were big things, just small ones. And then when we moved back to South, all the things we never spoke about or pushed away seemed to be there. And they all came roaring to the surface. I never wanted to live in the South. I was born on the coast in Georgia, but I did everything to make sure when people heard me speak, they could not point that out. But being back to South reminds me of all the things I wanted to forget. I remember visiting a site with my mother, that of a famous slave revolt. It was where the ship that the captured slaves had revolted and taken over had arrived. Once they landed the ship and realized that they would be re-enslaved, they simply joined hands and walked back into the sea, preferring to drown than to submit. Legend has it, though, that they were protected by their God. I sometimes wonder if I, too, would have that courage to walk back into the sea. A few months later, my parents took me to one of the coastal islands where I was involved in a near-fatal drowning incident. I was a strong swimmer as a child, so I don't know what happened, but somehow I found myself in trouble. No matter how loud I screamed, my parents didn't hear me. They didn't come. What was strange was that the moment I thought I was about to drown, I thought I saw a girl swim towards me to help. What was odd was that she seemed to be swimming from underneath the water and not from the surface. After that, I lost consciousness. And when I woke up, I was on the shore being held by my parents. I have no clue how I got there. When I explained what happened to my parents, they said that it could have never happened. A woman who happened to be on the beach that day said the same thing. She said that she saw a young black girl drag me out of the water and jump right back in. But obviously, my parents dismissed what both of us said, since there were no other little girls on the beach that day than myself. But over the years, I have thought about it, and I know she was there. And somehow she found me and saved my life.
The Scene Changes, a sitting row in the US, 2027.
When I saw this age looking for someone who would become a living in another planet with some group of people for a full year, I don't know, there's something in me that just thought, I think I could handle that. They said there would be risks, but by doing this, they could learn so much, not just about the planet we would be living, but this one too. That by doing this, we could in turn help so many other people. If this expedition is successful, it could be the beginning of colonizing many other planets. I think we have to do something, because it feels like this planet is dying, but we cannot find somewhere else to go. We may not survive. My mother's always says that might not be such a bad idea. Look at the mess we made down here, but I look at the things differently. Yeah, we have made some mistakes, but look at what we have accomplished. Look at this trip. Anyway, I'm happy that I got the last one. It wasn't easy. People apply from all over the world, but in the end, they choose me. I don't know, it just seemed to be my destiny that I go.
The Scene Changes, NASA Office, 2027.
Is that the landing point?
Yeah, you see where our craft has to go through. If not, it will combust. But don't worry, the crash computer system will handle all the stuff.
Oh, that means they won't have to do anything.
Just survive once you arrive in 12 months.
But with everything they're taking with them, I guess that shouldn't be that hard.
Well, you never know. Living with the strangers in the outer space and with no outer access can be fairly traumatic, so it's harder than you think. Well, as you know, according to this, if the flight is on this Friday, the flight will be safe. And the trip with the accelerator system will take a month. And the whole trip will have to wait for another 6 months. Once their residence capsule will expand, they there in their new home will spend a year there and then they will return back.
Hey, Daniel, just think. After all this time, we've finally done it. We finally colonized the planet. A planet with a condition for people to survive and being able to relocate people over there. We've finally done it. We've finally colonized the planet.
Well, we're not there yet.
But we will on Friday.
Yeah, I hope so, if everything goes well.
Hey, everything will.
The scene changes. Altitude Charles 2027.
My ancestors came to this island in order to escape being forced to join a trail of tears for hundreds, if not thousands of times. In the beginning, there were only a few families here, but then the community started to grow. When word got out that we could live our lives as we pleased, more families came to join us here. We were used to the land, but we adapted to the water. We learned to fish and to farm the oysters that were plentiful. Those were the days when the gods looked down and smiled. The island then was 5 miles wide, and we had control over our lives. But now it is barely a quarter of what it once was, and all the events that took away the land are caused by the humans. They're caused by the whites. The government, the whites, now have the power to decide which tribal nation should be recognized and which should not. Despite the fact that our ancestors were here before this, they do not recognize us and decide what to do with us. They give us money, they give us land, but away from this island, away from our home. Some have left now, but others say that if we go, we should go as a community. And they worry that if we leave, we will lose a sense of who we are. Now, the island has already started changing. There is now silence where there once were joyful voices. But soon there will be no land left to stay on.
The scene changes. A home in Alberta, Canada 2027.
I have always been an oil industry. I guess it's growing up in Alberta despite all those who work in oil industry. Here you can see so much less. I just thought if there are resources underground that can help change that, then I'm all into finding them. But something strange happened on one of the sites I was supervising at home. We had prepared it and made it safe, so there will be no seepage into the water table. When we poured the water into the site, I heard a screaming coming from underground. It was a woman's voice, making god-awful sound, and the wastewater appeared to turn red, a blood red. I kept asking guys I was working with if they could hear it, and they looked at me like I was going crazy. But I swear to these days, that's what happened. That night, I went home and just told myself that it was my imagination. But when I returned to work the next day, the same thing happened. And the day after that, and the day after that, to the point I could not return back. I signed up. But then I started to have this horrifying dream where I could still hear it. My wife told me I should go, talk to someone about it, which I did, but it didn't seem to help. And what was really terrifying was that even when I think about it, I would still hear that scream. My wife thought I was going crazy, and I have to say, so did I.
The scene changes. NASA office 2027.
The night before the launch, you have just this feel of childlike wonder. We have spent years working on this project, and when you see hard work coming to fruition, it's just this incredible rush. of the overriding desires for so many of us who work here is to touch the stars. And somehow when you do it, everything feels so greater. And you feel like you have done anything and something that you have put your life on it.
Hey Daniel, here's the meteorologist report for tomorrow. It looks good. But, you see, over there, there's a storm over there.
Yeah, there.
Okay, well, the storm is heading for the west coast. Hopefully, all of them are prepared, and there's zero chance that the storm will change its direction at the very last. So, we are all set to go. Is that a smile and see? No. Yes, it is.
Okay, maybe it is. But we haven't launched yet, so save the champagne for just now.
Hey, I will. Now I better get back. I'll see you at the launch tomorrow.
Okay, see you.
Hey, by the way, very well done, man. It's all really helping with all your hard work. So well done.
Nah, save that until tomorrow.
The scene changes Bangladesh Village 2027.
When I look back, it seems that everything happened so quick. The rains came and then they just did not stop. It was then that the water started rising and rising, and we were just desperately trying to save whatever we could. Our clothes, for some girls, photos of their family, but things that linked our previous lives. But then the water rose so high so quickly. We realized we had to leave everything behind to simply save our lives. The house was filled with screaming that night. As the girls started to understand just how serious it was, boats did come to rescue us, but some girls were so desperate and so afraid that they fell into the water and were swept away. As we rowed away, I looked back at our little home, where I had spent almost half my life. In many ways, it was the only place I could call home. And now it seemed to be slowly swallowed up by the dark muddy water.
The scene changes a South American road 2027.
One night on the road, my father frantically woke me up. He then gestured for me to quietly walk into the woods with him. I do not know how he knew there was trouble, but a few moments later, a regiment of soldiers arrived. They then woke up all the migrants, and going from person to person, they took all the valuables they had. People often worry about gangs who rob them, but the army can be, in some cases, just as bad, if not worse. They sometimes no longer see poor people as people, but as something they can look down upon and despise. I saw one or two of the soldiers take crying girls into the bushes to rape them. I was terrified. But then I saw a boy, the son of the owner of a neighbor's farm. He and I had been friends since childhood. We had grown up together. I remember how when he got into the army, he came to me to show off his new uniform. I thought how handsome he looked then. He told me that day that he was only doing it because he wanted to help his father, who was about to lose their farm. Tonight, I saw Juan again. But tonight, he did not look handsome. It seemed like he had become a totally different person. I remember how kind his eyes always were, but tonight, they were not kind. They were empty, as I saw him shoot a mother and her baby daughter. I looked at all the bodies lying on the road, people who had been driven from their homes looking for a place with water. Now they could no longer look for anything. Now they were gone.
Scene changes NASA headquarters to astronauts quarters 2027.
It's the day before the launch, and I never thought I would feel nervous, but I'm I'm nervous. I spent my last few days saying goodbyes to my parents and all my friends. They kept acting as if they would never see me again. I keep telling them that the space travel is no different from taking a local flight. Safer maybe? It was hardest to say goodbye to my parents. My mother again told me to talk about work. I had to explain to her that I knew exactly what I'm doing and this is the chance to be the part of her history. We have finally found a planet where we can actually live, where there is water. After a year we spent there, others will go and if it works out, it will give us a place to go. Since there seems to be so much confusion, and maybe there we can start again and make it better.
The scene changes, a boat filled with migrants, 2027.
The boat that rescued Man and I took us to a local refugee camp where we stayed. Man, though never really recovered from having so much of the dirty water, and after 2 weeks in a hospital, she died. I felt completely destroyed by her death. She was the only real mother I had. After her death, a man approached me and asked me if I wanted to work cleaning a hotel in the United Kingdom. Instinctively, I knew what he was asking. He was asking if I wanted to come to England and do the work I had done before. Although I did not, I had nowhere else to go. There is no way I could find my family. And with the flooding, so many people were homeless. Soon, I would have to leave the refugee camp because they would want to make space for the new arrivals. So I said yes to him, and he got me out of the camp and smuggled me out of the country. We are now on this boat filled with refugees sailing to the English coast. But the closer I get, the more I think now, I no longer want to go. I no longer want to work at what I had done before. I feel ashamed of it. It was not my choice, but a choice made for me by my desperate father because he was poor. I had found a home. Those years the other girls and mom. And because of the water, that too was gone. And another man told me that if the police catch you in England, they can send you to a country where many, many people were killed by knives. And I've always been afraid of knives. It's funny during the flooding that I was so afraid of the water. But now, I'm no longer afraid of it. Now, when I look down on its black surface, it seems to be offering me to become part of it. It offers me a peaceful end.
The scene changes, NASA offices, 2027.
Hey man, I'm really sorry.
It happened to all of us.
But you had everything for all of us. All this hard work down with you. Just because of a storm that was miles away, decided to wear a course like that. It was once in a lifetime opportunity, and something like that could happen.
I guess it's just our luck.
Anyhow, when are they going to reschedule it?
They are not.
How can they possibly be scrapping out this flight like this? After all the hard work we put into it, we have worked over a year to make this happen.
They can. And it looks like they haven't said anything definitive yet. There's another way of saying, give us a year. Once the spotlight is no longer on us, then we will quietly cancel it. And I thought even in this morning that after we talked about the possibilities of storm wearing off, and I thought that we have a chance to save the flight. But then it speeded up, so I guess that they just didn't want to take the chance.
Hey Daniel, it's fine. Why did you come on out? You have been here all day.
No,
I'm going home to see my family now.
Hey, Piano, there was nothing you could do to satisfy the thing.
I know that, but it doesn't help.
The scene changes. Sally's home in Canada.
It took a long time for friends to finally persuade me to leave this place. Leaving this place, well, it felt like Harry dying all over again. This place is just too much about the two of us. So the very thought of leaving this place ripped my heart apart. I wasn't ready to leave. But then, after there were two other bear attacks, one where a family lost their young daughter, I thought it was time for me to leave. People here just want to exterminate all the bears, but I know it is not their normal behavior. They are behaving like this way because their habitat has been destroyed by us, and they have nowhere else to go. So, then I finally decided to leave this place and started packing. With all the dust around, to be very honest, since Harry and I were not the best housekeepers in the world, it resulted in a massive asthma attack. And I had to be hospitalized and was in the emergency for a week. Later, doctors told me that my lungs was about to collapse. People later tell me that I should hate the bear that killed Harry. I said, no, I don't hate the bear. I hate all those people who destroyed his habitat, who overheated the planet and caused the frozen waters to melt. And most of all, I hate all those corporations who through their greed not only destroyed his habitat, but destroyed my life too.
Scene changes. A California home, 2027.
After that attack on the road to Mexico City, my father and I avoided traveling with any other groups of refugees. We instead walked alone on foot, going along the back road. We were so scared that we would meet the army again, or gang members, but somehow we made it, only to find it impossible to cross. We knew there would be checkpoints because we thought we could speak to someone and pray with arrows. But there were so many people there that the waiting time could be months. We then met a woman. She had a daughter who was an American citizen. She was coming to see her mother, but just as she crossed the border, she died of a heart attack. The woman kept saying that I looked like her daughter. She even showed my father and I a photo of her. And indeed, I did resemble her. I do not know what my father said to this woman, but when I woke up the next day, my father was gone. He left the little money he had, the girl's American passport, and a note telling me to cross over and create a new life for myself. That it was what my mother would have wanted, and what he wanted for me, and that he loved me. I do not remember how long I sat in that little room crying, but eventually, I packed what little I had and tried to make myself feel presentable. I still remember how hard my heart pounded as I neared those gates, but the officer there simply looked at the passport then at me and let me through. I called my aunt. She came in quick. After that, she found me a job as a nanny looking after the small child of a young family. I attended college here at night. My father went back to my uncle's farm. They hang on to it, despite the fact that the rains have failed yet again. Things here north of the border are not so different. Here we have to look out for fires that erupt suddenly because there is no water, there is no rain. It's funny, I thought you would be better, but it is not. I realized that the problem is everywhere.
The scene changes. An Alberta home, 2027.
I eventually had to quit since I no longer work on the tracking side, since I just continue to hear that woman screaming in my
my head. The therapist I was seeing at that time did actually help me. She explained that after some form of trauma, our brain finds a way to protect us, even if it's making you see or hear something that doesn't exist. The trauma for me was doing something I fundamentally knew was wrong. I think deep down, I always knew that. But the money was good, and I didn't want to think about it. My wife and I eventually sold the house. In fact, it was already paid for. Since kids had gone off to school and in their own lives, it was something we should have done ages ago. You are actually financially quite well off, and I could do something that matters. I joined an environmental charity here, pushing to stop fracking site popping all over the country. For once in my life, I felt like I did the right thing. And now, when I see the water, it's clear it doesn't run blood.
The scene changes, Daniel enters home.
I'm sorry. I couldn't sleep.
I didn't mean to disturb. I just wanted to get some water.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to talk to you. I wanted to apologize for missing the game.
Don't tell me what happened. They had to cancel the launch. So I know you were busy that.
No, it's not. You shouldn't have to feel that you come sick into my work.
Dad, I don't. It's fine. So when is their schedule?
They may not.
Why not?
Budget cuts and the new administration is coming in. So it's their decision whether they will fund us. So we won't know for months whether we will have that chance or not. You know, you and your mother are the only thing I got this right. And sometimes I even forget to appreciate it.
Dad, you know you love us.
Do you?
Yes, of course. You just get busy, that's all.
But when you tell me about the music films and groups you like about, and I don't get it.
Dad, you don't get it because you're old, not because you're white. Most old people are into the same thing as
I'm not that old, I'm 138.
and you're 18. That's old. Those are photos of Grandma, aren't they?
Yeah.
She looks nice.
She was nice, and she was probably the kindest woman I've ever seen. And it's sad that you didn't have a chance to meet her. If you had, you might have liked her.
No, she died of a heart attack in New York.
No, that's not what happened. She did die of a heart attack, but not in New York. She died in New Orleans.
You always told me she died in New York, right?
This is the most painful part I have to tell to you. Mom had taken me to New Orleans when I was 17. And it is all because that dad had left us. And mom was worried about me. So when we reached there, Mom had a friend, and we used to talk about it. We really liked New Orleans, as there lived a group of black musicians. And being a least communicative child, Mom thought that the change of scenery, would do me a favor. And then we rented a house there. Mom always took me to vacations in New Orleans, and I was happy about it. But one day the storm struck. But my mom, you know, being a mom, she thought that if she had to cancel the plans, it will bring so much pain to me. So she thought that she would not. And the storm became worse when the mayor ordered an evacuation of the city. Mom shouted at me. She said, "Go to the upstairs." And I did. When I looked back, it seems like she wasn't following me. When I did look back to her, I saw her clenching her heart. Mom had a heart scare before, but as long as she took her medication, she was fine. But on that day, I thought that she might have forgot because of the storm. I tried to help her, but, you know, I just couldn't. When I shouted for help, one of the neighbors whom I knew was able to hurt me. he was on the boat with 2 other people. He said that to me to bring mom downstairs. But it was difficult for me because there was water underneath us. And however, I tried to help my mom. I tried keeping her in my arms, saying, please mom, hang on. Because of him, we were able to get her to the offshore. Eventually, all the road was blocked and there was no single space for us. There were lots of cars there and none of us stopped for us. Eventually, a car did stop and then they took me and my mom to the hospital, whereby it's their effort that we made it. However, when we reached at the hospital, many people were trembling in their own way. Many people came to seek shelter from the storm. I tried to insist one of the doctors to look at her, and he did resuscitate her, but you know, it was too late. Mom died. The hospital told me that people were being evacuated at the stadium. And I could never really understand it. I insisted that I will stay in the hospital. But then they said that they have only limited food and water supply there. And it's mainly for their patient. They said that mom's dead body will be kept at the hospital morgue. That left me no choice but to be evacuated at the stadium. When I reached back there was pretty full. Lots of people were there, and you will see occasionally helicopters flying over you, trying to save some wealthy person. And people like us were left there to rot. From that day, I thought that this isn't America, and this isn't something that happens in America. After years, I blamed the water, but we are the cause for this disaster. We had created this disaster. I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. It seems that after being evacuated from the stadium, my mom's sister, my aunt, found me, and then she took back me to New York, whereby I had left with my uncle. There, I was trying to find hope. By the way, I'm a retired father. I didn't even ask you how you did in your game.
Won.
What? You won?
Yeah, we won.
You won? Oh, I'm so proud of you. I promise that when you're playing at the Florida next year, I'll be there.
I changed my mind about going there.
But they offered you a full scholarship.
I don't want to play football anymore.
But I thought you loved sport.
I did. I do. But that doesn't mean I want to do it for the rest of my life. I think I figured it out now how all this moves. People love you when you're winning, but the moment you start to lose, they don't want to know you anymore. They move on to the next kid who's just a little faster or throws further than you ever could. No, I did what I wanted to do. You won the state championship. That's all I ever wanted. Besides, I also had another offer from Howard to study physics.
What? But I thought you hated science.
I never said that. You said that. What I said was, I didn't like you pushing me to it. That's all. Those are two completely different things. I wanted to get there on my own terms, and now I did it. I took extra science classes this year, but I asked Mom not to take. Because I wanted to make sure this was my choice, and now it is. I want to study science to maybe help you figure all this stuff out. I'm good at football, but maybe I can be great at science, and we can work together.
finding it. But I didn't even realize the cove was deep. You know, I'm so proud of you.
Yes. You see old folks need to.
Yes, I guess you do.
What?
No. I was just thinking about our tears.
Exactly.
Our tears is made up of water.
The scene changes as the Jill jumps.
The last storm pretty much wiped us out and took with it another 40 hours. After that, my wife was ready to leave. I said that we had to stay, but she said, what is there to stay for? But I said, our ancestors are here. We have to stay for it. But she said, soon the boats will got to walk. I had a heavy heart when we were packing, but then my wife told me about this violated spokesperson that she had seen on YouTube. A crazy small world, right? Evidently, he started to hear the earth scream and saw fracking wastewater turn to blood. And that was enough for him to understand that we were destroying the planet. So, he sold his home and is now fighting to save it. I said it sounded like a crazy person, but my wife says maybe we all have to be a little bit crazy if we are to fight greed and corruption. So, I thought I would write to him. I wrote to him that I was going to try to get up to Canada and try to help as much as I could. So now, my heart isn't that heavy, and I know I'll always have my father with me. Now I just need to tell him goodbye.
The scene changes. A beach lit night. Soul and Alma stand staring at the stars.
So, it is beautiful. Yes, it is beautiful. I wish we could stay above ground.
Above ground, they might hurt us. We are safer below.
Yes, below, but they pollute our water, our world.
Our waters, our world,